App Planning for Success. Brought to you by Software Accelerator Playbook. On Instagram at S.A.Playbook. Today on the podcast, we're talking about a top-level overview over every single part of the app creation, from envisioning to planning to testing, releasing, and then all the way through marketing. So obviously we're not going to go super deep into each one of those, but I just want to kind of give you the full picture of what's required in order to get people into your app, from the point of having that first vision. Now, keep in mind as you're thinking about this, that there's a few different ways that you can make an app. If you're making an app for specific, for people to use, then you're going to have that whole marketing component. But if you're making an app for your business to be able to run things more efficiently or more effectively, then in that case, you're going to be able to skip that whole marketing step, because right from the beginning, if you make something that helps, save you time, that you're good to go from there. So, ultimately, from the very beginning, you have an idea, you see some sort of need, you want to create some sort of value, and, it pops into your head that you want to build an app. And so then the next question is, okay, well, how hard is this going to be? What needs to happen next? What do you do next? And, generally it's good to just kind of let yourself dream a little bit and just think and get as far as you can down the road, just thinking and dreaming and writing things down. If you can organize it into maybe different pages, for each different page of the app, thinking about it that way, or if you want to just go straight forward and just think about the main flows that people will be going through. If they have to create a project and then modify it and then add some sort of metadata to it and then et cetera, whatever it is, just try to think through what you can think through, and then from there. Move into a planning or discovery phase with somebody like me, who can help you kind of, really make sure that you're planning out the right thing, and that and really going through the different types of flows and detailing out all the different ways that people will reach success with your app. One thing that's really fun about going through a planning phase with somebody who's done it before is that you're able to get new ideas where you might have thought, hey, this could happen this way or this could happen that way. There's lots of different ways to move forward. And, if you've never built an app before, you may be missing certain ways that could make your app way better and even more marketable, which is super helpful. So keep in mind that, there's not just one specific way to do something, and that by being creative and thinking a little bit outside the box, you're able to find new ways forward here. If you don't know the questions to ask, if you don't know the certain things to look out for, then that's when you want to be able to call in a professional, somebody who's spent the time to do this again and again and again, so that their thoughts and the way that they're going to think through it are really going to be beneficial, because they've had these questions before and they've answered them in multiple different ways, so they know lots of different paths forward. Okay, so once you get past the idea of you're planning this thing, you have the whole thing planned out, then you move into development. Then you're contacting different development teams, getting quotes, trying to see who's going to work with you the best, who's going to really be able to get this thing finished for you in a timely manner for a good budget. And from there, you are launching into a season of making sure that your vision is aligning into their mind, right? That you've created this thing, you've got these plans, but you want to make sure that as they're looking at the plans and understanding the plans, that you're still on track, that there's not any sort of confusion. So the best way to do this is to just meet and talk and have discussions about how the whole thing should flow, and basically have them explaining it to you. Have them explaining, here's what's going to happen, and then this thing happens, and this thing happens. And as they explain it, you are looking for any sort of, confusion in the way that they're understanding what's going on. That as they explain it, from their own words, not just from reading your notes, but from their own words, that you're able to gather really how well they comprehend this thing. If they get the picture in their mind correctly, then it will be built correctly, because they're the ones, the project manager, they should absolutely be able to direct their team to build a specific vision. But to get the vision from your mind to their mind is the main difficulty. And there's always more detail behind the surface there. There's always more detail. There's always more things that you haven't discussed that can be discussed. And so to discuss as many of those details as possible and really get that vision crystal clear is just super important in order to make sure that what you're going to get back is the correct thing. Okay, so once you're moving through, you're moving into development. You're actually starting to use it or use parts of it, and see that things are working properly. You are going to want to have your own QA team. You are going to want to have your own set of either yourself or you hire somebody to help you go through and click on all the different combinations to make sure that there's no weird glitches, and to look for stuff that's just going to give a bad user experience. This is almost like using sandpaper on the finished the finished cut. If you cut something a certain way, yes, it's finished sort of, but then if you sandpaper it off, you're really just refining those rough edges down and making sure that it's just exactly right. This includes the user messages that are sent. If you have a team overseas, maybe you'll have some messages there that are a little bit strange with the grammar, so trying to fix all those. Anything in terms of clicking a button and you want something to happen, or even just certain UX stuff where as soon as they click on a button, you want something to happen immediately versus waiting. All those kind of small little details. Once the data is actually saving, once the information is actually being sent, all that stuff is actually happening. But then there's kind of the next layer of just how does it feel to use the software, and is there anything else that can be changed on top of that? For example, when you log into a website, when they click on login, does anything happen when they click on login, or is it just almost as if nothing happened, right? So if they click on a button and then nothing happens, even though it's processing, you may want to give a little bit more feedback. What I like to do is, as soon as the button is clicked, it disables the button and it changes the button text. Instead of saying log in, it says logging in. So the second that they click it, the site is immediately responsive to give them this idea of, oh, it's working. Oh, we're moving forward fast. Versus if you click on the login button and nothing changes, you're basically like hoping, like, I think I clicked it. I think it's moving forward. But you don't want to have those question marks up in your customers' minds. You want stuff to be very clear as to what's happening, and have the code be really responsive to the person entering it. It just gives a much better experience. So you are moving forward with this idea of trying to make sure that all those rough edges are figured out. You're running this QA layer, quality assurance, to make sure that you are doing it correctly, or that it's coming through correctly, everything's coming through correctly. And then from there, you really, by this point, absolutely want to make sure that you're marketing it. Probably from the very beginning, you want to be marketing it, making sure that, absolutely make sure before you spend money on this thing that there's people that are interested. You know how to reach them. You know how to reach them again and again and again. And that's part of the difficulty of building an app, that not only are you going to deal with this technical issue of trying your best to make sure that you're communicating your vision effectively to build this thing, but also that once it's built, that you can get people to use it. That adoption of the app is a big part of the difficulty. Just convincing people that they should download it is yet another layer of difficulty. And so if you're not doing that from the beginning, or at least once you've started development, really kind of turning on that marketing layer, then it's going to be really, really difficult once you finish this thing, and then it's just crickets. You've invested all this money in building this thing, but then where are the people? Typically you want to make sure before you build it that the people are ready and waiting. And if the people are ready and waiting, then as soon as you have the app ready to go, then you can just let the people in. They're already waiting. They're already waiting at the gate, and that way you're not struggling to find the people afterwards. Sometimes it's too easy to just assume that people want it and assume that you can contact them easily, and that's a hard lesson to learn once you spend all the money on building the thing and realize, well, I guess nobody wanted it, or I guess I'm not marketing this effectively. How the heck do I market this effectively? So once you get that flow of people being able to flow into the app, at that point, at that point, then you've got this technical thing working. You've got the app working. People are getting value out of it, and you're bringing people in. Make sure now you've also got a layer of feature requests and support. That really what makes an app amazing is the idea of anytime somebody has an issue, that they can just be able to immediately get help or tell you something's up. It's really frustrating for me, especially as an app developer or an app planner, that I'm in an app and something's going wrong or something's glitchy, and I can't just hit a button and just say like, hey, just FYI, this thing is glitchy, that they have no way of getting information from me. And it's really, they're shooting themselves in their foot, because there's a lot of people that want to help, they want to let them know something's up, but if they don't have some situation set up where they can easily just get messages from people, then they're going to be missing out on that information, and then they're going to be paying extra for quality assurance to be finding this stuff for them. Or worst is that maybe they just don't even know that there's an issue, and then they're giving people a bad experience week after week, month after month, and that finally somebody will take the time to maybe email them separately, and the information will get through, and then they'll be able to fix it. So make sure that as you move past the visioneering, past the building, past the development, past the marketing, that that you have a solid support layer to really help people, and that there's a really easy flow of information from the people using the app to be able to to let you know what's up. Keep in mind too, with the marketing layer, there's this whole idea of paid ads acquisition, that if you can set up a solid flow from Facebook or TikTok or wherever else it is, where you can pay to have your information in front of people using the app, in front of people using like Instagram or TikTok, that people can then flow from that platform to try out your app, that then you start, you're able to pay for acquisition. You're able to pay to get people to come over to your app. And that's a huge piece of this scenario, that you're not just crossing your fingers hoping people come over. You're not just, hoping that people see your organic post about your app, but that you actually, you put money behind it, and you get people flowing, on a specific cadence, with whatever you can afford, per month, to be able to bring people in, that then grows that snowball and gets more and more and more people into the system. So it really is, a plane kind of, taking off from the ground, and then as soon as it takes off, you want to make sure that you're making enough money to be able to pay for the app development or any glitches that come up, and also having infrastructure to serve the people that are using the app. And once you've got it off the ground, you want to make sure that it doesn't come back down again, that you're able to keep it up, and that you're making enough every month over month, to be able to pay for all that. So I hope that this has been helpful to you, to kind of give you an overall view of what's going on here, and I will see you tomorrow.